Hey Joe.
Hey, I need to step away real quick. Hopefully other folks will join, but I'll be back in like 5 minutes and then I'll say hello.
No problem.
Hey, Terrence, did you get anything back on the doc permissions?
Yeah, I posted in
Oh,
leadership that it's fixed.
yep, yeah, I've seen. I'll go ahead and
Okay.
update it. Yeah, while we're waiting, go ahead and get signed into the doc, which we can now do. Thank you, Terrence.
Anyone could have opened a service desk ticket.
Yeah, I just always it would come up when we join the working group, and then by the time working group was over, I forgot about it. So never got
I think I
approved.
just forced last week. I was like, Jesse, we're gonna do a working session the entire time and just get work done. Or I'm never gonna get CMB work done.
Okay, well, I guess we can get started. A bunch of people have not signed into the doc, so please do that. New faces. I didn't. I don't know. I've not met you, so I don't know if others have. But
Hey.
you want to go ahead and say hello?
Hi, yes, everyone. Thank you for uh, driving the Buildpacks project. I've been introduced to Buildpacks back in 2019 in the security of KubeCon, and I've just been following the project. I'm working for Cox Communications, and we are really heavily centralized DevOps shop, I guess. Like we're running a really large instance of Jenkins that compiling about 3,000 applications and managing the CI/CD process for teams. And so now we're at the point where we wanted to modernize and migrate into Buildpacks. So we're exploring and developing our own builders. And I just wanted to see what's the status of Buildpacks development and kind of get a little bit better understanding how we can leverage the latest and greatest features. And if you have any tips on teams and enterprises that are just getting started. So, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'd
Oh.
love to. Yeah, go ahead, Terrence.
I was gonna ask, I think I had an audio, but where'd you say you were working from or working for?
Oh, I work for Cox Communications. It's a cable company
Okay, yeah.
headquarters in
Oh,
Atlanta.
yeah, like
Yeah,
COX.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to take a minute after we get through some of the standing agenda stuff to talk through
Thank you.
some of the problems you had and want to solve and motivations and stuff.
Excellent.
Cool. And I see, is that Natalie?
Yeah. Hi.
Hey,
I'm
long
here.
time.
My Zoom is like auto focusing on my face, which is weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like you're in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just popping in to say hello. Hi. I'm Natalie. I used to work at Broadcom, another big user of Buildpacks, and I spent the summer just hanging out with my kids. And my baby is now almost 10 months old, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm just here so that I don't forget how to be an engineer. I guess maybe we should talk about, I probably shouldn't have a leadership role in the project anymore, but I am thinking about, being around for a few hours a week. So I'm gonna see if I can this Zoom thing. It's really weird. But anyway, nice to see you.
Cool. Yeah, I just ran through the RFCs. I didn't see anything that needs stewardship review or voting. Is there anything I'm missing or anything we need to talk about with RFCs?
You're muted, Jesse, if you're saying something.
I wasn't saying anything. Sorry. I was just looking at something else and mumbling.
Okay. Last item is graduation update. I don't know if you have anything, Terrence. I don't think I do.
I was just gonna ask because Natalie mentioned Broadcom, and I think we just left Broadcom out of the mix mostly just because we didn't know who the rep was for Broadcom. So I don't know if you're there and just fixing your video. But if you could help us there, Natalie, because I think it would be sad not to include Broadcom in our graduation kind of application for how much pivotal VMware Broadcom have been part of this journey. So
Yes.
is Ben still kicking around? Can we use him?
He was there when I left. I can check. I'm still in touch with Tom a little bit, so I can reach out and just see.
Yeah, but I think we just need to have someone for that to kind of get them in the thing. And so they'll reach out to those particular people kind of when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea is to have somebody who's knowledgeable to talk about it. Like, so like, yeah, someone not necessarily someone who's hands-on every day with it, but who can speak to why it's being used and how it's being used.
Yeah, I think Tom or Ben would be the best person, but I'll reach out to Tom first and he can circulate it with the team that's there right now.
Cool. Thanks, Natalie. And then once we have that, either you or someone one of us can fill out the super short Google form to get them in. As far as other graduation updates, I think Jesse was the only one around actually last time I gave the massive update. And of course, we didn't have Google Docs editable because I don't know why the CNCF locked our doc down. But yeah, I met with I guess I don't know. I don't think it's the TOC. Someone, Bob Killen, who's on the CNCF TOC, or might not be on TC, but he's as part of kind of Heroku's sponsorship. We can call meetings like this, and we were asking about kind of the graduation process as it's kind of been in limbo and changing with the new TOC and everything. And so, or not the new TOC, but them kind of spinning down the SIGs and kind of changing that. And so um, there, I shared the doc, and we should probably put it in the notes here. I can go grab that in a sec. But he actually, Bob Killen, put together the docs, and he said actually Buildpacks is in a pretty good spot. And a lot of the things that he's asking for are documentation changes. Well, he's bugging them in documentation, but it's just like update the roadmap to actually like reflect the thing, right? Make sure for like the security stuff to actually have it, list out who's actually on the security mailing list. And then for the staffing stuff, because of for contributors and maintainers of the project, they're pretty interested in where the people work because they don't want to have a single vendor project. So he even said like actually the companies are more important than the names of the people, which I thought was weird, but uh I guess that's like what they're looking for graduation stuff. And so there's like a handful of things like that. I don't remember everything, but those were some examples that is in that doc. And I think Betty just turned them into kind of checklists. So as we do them, we can just kind of check them off. But he said like overall things are in a good spot. And then the other piece was that technical doc that we should or should not do kind of question mark thing. Um, he said that we're not required to do it, but whoever's assigned to review the project will be required to do it. And if we want to expedite it along, it would probably be in our best interest to just do a bunch of the pre-work for that person who gets it assigned. Also, because we know the project, we'll be able to find that stuff much faster and can kind of paint it in the light you want to paint it in and then hand it off to them versus them having to go and discover kind of all the pieces themselves. So he recommended us kind of doing that. And then timing wise, obviously pretty late in the game to get in for NA. And there's basically two other projects, I think he was saying, that's in the queue in front of us. And so he was pretty hopeful about a like coupon EU Amsterdam thing if like all the ducks are in a row around like the interviews and stuff kind of happening and people saying, you know, good things about the project essentially from the end users. But yeah, that's the update I had.
Awesome. Thanks. And thanks for doing the meeting, Bob.
Yeah. So we should
Cool.
probably just divvy up the
yeah.
work between you and I, Joe, and figure out how to
Yeah,
get this
yeah.
stuff up to date.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a concrete list, just hand it out. I don't mind working on any of that stuff.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, so that's the standing items unless there's more on graduation. So love to talk. I guess Aiden, did you put that's the onboarding to Buildpacks? Is that you?
I just put that in there to put a
Okay.
note that we should talk about it, but
yeah. So I'd love to hear. I hope I'm saying your name right. Correct me if I'm not.
It's done.
Idan.
Yeah, it's remote.
Yeah.
No worries about it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about like the problems that you were hoping to solve by adopting Buildpacks, and then curious to hear where you are. You said you were creating builders, so I'd love to hear like where you are in your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that you care and you ask the questions about I'm not expect just to make sure that I'm setting expectation. I'm not expecting here to have like a walkthrough guide. Just my couple engineers on my team were the ones who actually had the technical dive in and uh, actively building the builders for us. But I think it's going to be helpful to hear where will be the right areas and the best practices to help us adopt it in the large scale that we operate in. So we're not the Broadcom, but will be nice. So I think that the nature of our company or that our team being so centralized, um, we have seen we have been investing a lot in abstracting as much as we can the build process, the CI/CD process, um, for developers, meaning trying to abstract it into so they won't even have to know like what is POM XML, how does it work, what edits do we need to make, how do we write the right mature Docker file in a secure way. We're trying to really, as much as we can, abstract away those responsibilities. We have a dedicated team that is managing the what's so-called like golden base images. So these are being used for runtime, and then we're responsible for the build environment. Up until about a couple of months ago, we used to be very specific in the version we pick. So there's not going to be any fluctuations in adopting latest and greatest versions. As we saw with the recent Node.js environment, it's pretty crazy out there. So, we were kind of leaning towards a more conservative adoption of latest versions. But then it also puts us a little bit behind when it comes to adopting keeping up with vulnerabilities or fixes. So I think we're trying to find the right to thread that needle of what is the best practices you see the large organizations are adopting, and how do we follow some similar practices like chain guard, for example, like where they have a very minimal attack surface on the image, minimal packages necessary just for runtime, but then provide the flexibility of developers to simply run the compilation of the image, and it's going to be consistent and minimal for running. I know that there's a lot unpacked there. I mean, sorry, if you want me to focus on one of the areas, I try to give you some context. So let me know if you want me to focus a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's just like whatever's most helpful for you kind of thing. I think the project wins when people have a good experience here. So I think is really about just helping, you out for onboarding. So it sounds like you're pretty early in the process of like you already have an established kind of thing that you're dealing with some challenges, and you kind of want to figure out how to standardize pieces. For the so you said you had a bunch of golden images already. Are those already on ChainGuard, or that's a thing you're not necessarily like looking to do ChainGuard, but you would like that practice of kind of minimal things, or are you looking to kind of move to the Wolfie images?
Yeah, we're looking at minimizing attack surface and making it simple for us to upgrade. So one of the features that I had in the back of my mind while speaking to in the booth of SecurityCon was around the ability to patch existing Docker images. So as long as the layers or the operating system layers are intact and separate from the application, that I've heard that it's possible to use build packs to patch it without compilation of the application. I wasn't sure what it's called, but that feature sounds really intriguing for me.
Yeah, the feature's called Rebase, and
Oh,
uh, it's I think it's at the heart of what makes Buildpacks pretty attractive without knowing a lot. And essentially, it's built on the premise that if you're using like a Linux distribution, like a Ubuntu LTS, in the case of Heroku, or in Salesforce's case, it's like Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9. You have these vendor contracts where they make ABI compatibility guarantees around the symbols on the disk, right? And so the idea behind it is that you can essentially update, it's like if you're doing it manually by hand pre-container line, right? Like you would just update the packages and you wouldn't necessarily rebuild the actual software running on top of it. And so it's bringing it back to kind of that era. And so since the builds are standardized and we have metadata of basically where that seam is, we can go in and do the JSON manifest update. So once you push the base image, the new layers on like to a registry. Yeah, thanks for the doc,
Yeah, just
Joe.
thanks, Joe.
But yeah, basically we'll just do a JSON manifest kind of update and then push up a whole new image without touching the app layer. So the SHAs
amazing.
themselves for the app layers won't change, and that makes rollout to like, let's say an existing node extremely fast because you now just have to push the text change and then the base image change, right? So any of
Beautiful.
your app layer things ideally are cached already on that node, right? Because you already pulled them
Yes.
down.
I mean, they're using Artifactory, but we're using Artifactory, but we can simply pull and rebase and push, if I understand correctly, the workflow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of kube clusters or whatever, you already have the app layers cached, right? If you redeploy into the thing.
We actually disabled any downloading. So every image is going to be still reaching out to Artifactory. We disabled any caching. But one other question is more specific around the build process. One first thing we noticed is that there was, as opposed to our existing building environment, we didn't have access to. I think that existing Ubuntu images are using glibc. Wait, what was it? Like, I think it's using, yes, I think it's using glibc, and then some of the Node.js applications are actually depending on Musl. I think because we adopted Alpine, forgive me please if I mix the two, but essentially we couldn't find a base builder image for compiling Node.js applications that was based on Alpine. And I was wondering if you know any organization that was using Alpine for the build environment.
I mean, I'm in a similar boat where I came to using Buildpacks. I started using Buildpacks and I've become more of an involved member over time. We use Amazon Linux,
Yes.
and I don't think we use Alpine anywhere, but I think that you can create a different set of builders and base images based on whatever applications you want. So I remember we had some apps that needed to be using glibc versus Musl. I'm not sure how to say that, but I think it depends on your requirements and how much work you want to do to create like specific builders.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much inevitable. It sounds like, I mean, that I wasn't able to find GitHub any builders that are using Alpine as the base, but I guess we'll have to create our own.
Yeah, I was actually curious. Like when I started using Buildpacks, we didn't build anything ourselves. We started using Paketo Buildpacks.
Right.
So like when you started, did you start from scratch building your own images, or were you using like Paketo or Heroku or some other Buildpacks? Like how did you start?
We did start with testing the Paketo, I believe, but in order to be we really want developers to adopt it. We want to minimize the chances of disrupting the existing functionality, so they won't have to rerun, for full regression. And so we're trying our best to keep the existing base images, and that's where we kind of hit the roadblock, I guess. Like, but we're actively developing our builders now. One thing that I notice is, the steps for rebuilding golden images for enterprises is probably the same, very similar across a lot of organizations, right? Like there's gonna be some self-signed certificates, and updates like that. And so this is kind of where we are. Like we're still researching and developing our own builders. And hopefully we're going to be able to publish it as well to the community, because I think I'm sure there's going to be, other organizations in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm curious. So what build packs are you using then? Like you're talking about builders, but like which are the build packs you're using with these builders?
I think let me pull the latest. I don't have it accessible, like the latest one that we use. Um,
And the reason I ask is when I started using Paketo build packs, they were specifically targeted at Ubuntu builders. And so some of the build packs had to be updated to support any architecture, which requires some changes upstream. So if you're using Paketo, um, there's a Paketo Slack, and I'm a maintainer, and you can, reach out.
oh, great.
We're actively developing things and trying to make things more user friendly, et cetera. So, if there's something that you want that's not working or a feature that you'd like, we are all ears.
Excellent. Is that in the CNCF? Slack?
No, it's just separate. I think if we go to paketo.io.
Is it part of the CFF?
Yes, it
Cloud
is.
Foundry Foundation?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. Will do. Excellent. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean there are different build packs, and like my experience is heavily in Paketo, but I'm not saying you need to use them, but if you happen to use them and you want to engage with the community, um, we're happy to engage.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so
Yeah, go
go.
ahead.
I was just gonna ask about so your question was about basically building the golden images, or like you're building these golden images and then using that as the base for the builder?
Using the yes, but we're not, the golden images are meant for runtime. These have to stay the same, but we're trying to refine the build process to use Alpine, yeah. So it's gonna match. Ideally, you want to have, similar, right, like technology stack.
Yeah.
I had a question actually. So like I have an RFC, which I was hoping we could chat about at some point if there's time in this meeting, about rebasing and maybe like enhancing the rebasing feature. Like when you talk about reusing about patching, right, vulnerabilities, like is this something where you're hoping that build packs will solve your patching problems, period? Like what is your expectation with rebasing and patching? Just curious.
For mine, no, just like so in the case where there's gonna be um, the operation system vulnerability, say even it's a critical one, then it's gonna reduce the chances of impacting the application's functionality or having to rebuild everything from scratch. Like our kind of pipeline currently is creating a release candidate version every single build. Like we're not using any fancy build flow or sorry, build branching strategies. There's pull request, but it's centralized trunk. So when we build, it's going to create like a whole new pipeline. And I'm just kind of intrigued by the idea of having the ability to kind of work around the pipeline into specific, like direct um, patching of the operating system in case that we have only new vulnerability there in those layers, and then straight ship it and patch it
Yep.
in place, kind of thing.
I get it. Yeah. All right. That's interesting because like one thing we do is we have a separate kind of rebasing process that has nothing to do with anybody's applications. And we just go and rebase the run image in containers, in clusters. Well, I mean, we're rebasing in a registry, right? And you're pushing to a registry, but then we also have a process where the nodes that are used in the cluster, they get rolled every so often so that basically the next time the Kubernetes node, the workload gets moved from the node that's getting spun down to the new node, it's going to pull in the latest patched version of the run images. So we really don't have to do anything from a kind of like a release perspective. And it just
That's
happens
very fancy.
automatically.
Very
So,
cool. I like it.
Yeah, there's interesting ways you can use rebasing, but it's definitely really, really great feature.
What is your RFC?
Let's see, I can send a link in a second here. And yeah, if you guys, I don't know if there was other stuff on the agenda for this meeting that was going to be
Oh
discussed.
yeah, sorry if we deep dive.
No reason to apologize. We like new people and new folks to come to the working group, so I like to give them the space.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're new to Buildpacks, like maybe this is a lot of information, but like the current rebase, I think primarily focuses on the run image, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing, the reason I asked about patching is that, if you're doing container scans, eventually you'll see vulnerabilities and all kinds of stuff. And one thing we found is that because we're using Go and Go uses a standard library, sometimes you get vulnerabilities inside Go binaries. And those are binaries that have nothing to do with application code. And they're like Paketo or Buildpacks, the lifecycle launcher, like things that have nothing to do with a product team's code. And then it becomes a burden for them to have to go and rebuild their app and redeploy a new release just to patch something. So, this RFC is talking about the potential ability to rebase certain layers so that, like, you can, instead of having to go and rebuild your application code to swap out a layer that has nothing to do with your application code, maybe you can just rebase that layer. And, the next time, the pod gets spun up and it pulls down the latest container, then, you would solve that problem. Yeah, actually, I should have said that the pull policy, if you change the pull policy to always, that might also solve the problem in a pod.
Does it
manifest.
though? Because isn't it, the digest will change if you change the layer, unless you're lying to the registry, man.
The digest would change.
Like if you patch the execd layer, that layer has different content, so therefore the digests for that layer should be different. You should be updating the like I feel like when you rebase, right? Like we point to new OS layers that have different digests, and then also we produce a new manifest, right? Like I think you probably don't want the same manifest to literally in a different point in time actually have different contents. Like you probably want it to be frozen in time.
Yeah,
So
you're right. I think you're right because the digest would change. I guess if the question is like
I
depends
mean,
on
there
what.
are ways to like cheat your way through it, actually, I've learned, but you probably
Yeah,
don't like you don't want
well,
to be doing that. But yes.
I think
How
it
do you roll
depends on
back
how
if you cheat?
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if your deployment sets the tag as like if they're using the tag and not the digest, then I think then it wouldn't automatically pull it, right? Because it says I already have this image. I believe, but I'd have to test this.
It depends on all your pull policies and stuff, right? Yeah. And like latest is special. If you're using Kubernetes and latest, then it's going to pull it, even if it already has a copy of it. But in other tag scenarios, then it will not pull it if it already has a copy of it. If we're just talking about Kubernetes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of like, again, I don't know if this is something of concern, but I think if you want me to wait till Terrence gets back, and I was going to ask some questions about the RFC.
Yeah, we can start chatting about it probably. Like I think Terrence
Okay,
has
that's
already,
fine.
we've had some discussions internally as well, and which some of them have been put on the RFC.
Oh, and the RFC, I haven't read it since yesterday, I think. So,
I think there was just one from one of our language owners just talking about kind of the complexity it brings to users. How do we make them understand this? Which I think is good stuff to call out. And we need to kind of I haven't taken the feedback in and done anything with
yes.
it, but I did read it.
Yeah, actually, so I had a chat with Daniel Makusa just to kind of like set where we want to approach this from a Paketo perspective. And I think that like his concern was that if we're changing layers, then the S bombs need to get updated. And so I started poking around in the image, and it looks like the S bombs are in a separate layer. So we would have to go modify that layer. So I think that's what you were probably saying in the RFC, that if we're changing that, we have to go modify that.
Yeah, there's stuff that we have to validate and make sure that our resulting image matches what we want it to be, right? So even if you're patching one layer, it might end up being patching two layers, right? Because the one layer for the actual binary that you've changed, and then the final layer where all the S bombs are, if they're in that layer. I don't exactly remember how S bombs work because I know you can like put S bombs in your own
Right.
layers as well. But then there's kind of like when Pack does it, I don't know if it grabs all the S bomb layers or whether they get combined into a single layer. I haven't really dug into that in a while. But yeah, there's some my concerns are around that area too. Like, yeah, what do is changing one thing really just changing one thing, or how many things are we sort of having to mess with?
Yeah. I mean, the proposed workflow that you created though, where you're building an image and then you're just taking the layers from that image seems to be a pretty safe way to deal with it because you're just like maybe you need to do a check and say like I'm using the same API. I don't know if we can validate that kind of information, but like we're generally doing apples to apples and not oranges and apples comparison.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's kind of why I kept it loose instead of saying like replace this digest with this digest. Like I think that's a little too strict and kind of hard to have wiggle room for, hey, I went from this version of the node build pack this layer, but also because it has an S bomb, there might be another layer that needs to change. And so like, yeah, I think it kind of leaves it up to the platform author. Like I guess you in theory could update like a binary and then not update the SBOM if you really want to, right? Like it's sort of flexible enough that you could replace just one layer and whether lifecycle breaks or not when the rebase happens because it knows that the SBOM is out of date or not is kind of I guess to be decided. Like we could just allow Force
Yeah.
to kind of plow through.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we probably should have lean towards safer guardrails, but probably allow folks to I think similar to the image native image extension stuff. Like you can always use like a force flag essentially to be like, as the operator of this platform, like if for some reason I want to build a thing and like not update the SBOM, even though there's an SBOM here, like I think we can allow folks to basically override stuff if we want to go that route, but it seems like we should at least guide people to a good path by default on Rails.
yeah, that's another thing that Daniel was concerned about. And so basically, like you said, should we have a rebasable kind of some rebasable metadata that says like true or false and basically don't allow stuff unless somebody passes the dash force flag? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, that would make a lot of sense because you're saying, okay, as a build pack author, I'm saying this should be allowed or shouldn't be, et cetera. And then it's pretty clear what people should or shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. And then obviously as the operator of the platform, you can be like, well, I know my apps and I know what I'm running in production. I can override, I guess, if I really want.
Yeah. So
I
I
think that's
think
part
the
of
the
what
thing.
Ed was pushing
Oh, go
back
ahead.
against a
Yeah,
little
go ahead.
bit. Yeah, the if you produce a builder, you might also want to produce this patch file. And we didn't really talk about how you would produce this sort of patch file. Like if you are Heroku and like we are, and we have a bunch of open source users, like yeah, it's cool that we could do this platform level thing and handle this, replacing like some sort of proxy that we have or some sort of execd binary like you're doing. But it would be nice to also have a path that is clear for the open source version of like this patches file, right? And like it being associated with the builder potentially, right? So that when Pack does a Pack rebase on something, maybe it's like dash dash, additional patches, right? And it looks at the builder metadata to figure out that, oh, hey, they published this thing on CloudFront that is like the patch file that is like up to date every day, right? So that you can rebase patches from like Heroku's like fleet of golden images, like golden, proxies and stuff like that, or whatever we're building that need to be patched, if that makes sense.
It does. All right. So we're talking about just for the lifecycle / launcher, that layer.
I think we're talking about kind of like an exec-D thing, like you all like. It's one thing to kind of bake it into the Heroku platform itself, but we also should make sure that we have a path so that builders like the Google Builder or something, and people are using it outside of the Google ecosystem can get those patches too. I think is kind of one of Ed's concerns. Like, or we don't want to leave our open source folks to basically have to build their own platform to do this rebasing too. So if you're running pack rebase in like a GitHub action, you might want to make sure that this patching ability exists there too.
Okay. Yeah. Like I'm thinking of it from my perspective because I am already going to go and do all this work and it's fine for me and I'm happy to do it. But
Yeah.
others, it should just be easy. They should just
Yeah,
be
if you're
able
doing
to.
a pack build every day and then you want to set up a GitHub action to pack rebase every day, like we should probably have some metadata somewhere so that you can, optionally adopt these patches from your like trusted builder of choice, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I think so I guess I like the workflow as is because if you're in an air gapped environment or if you're like not allowed to pull from public registries or whatever, it's like really nice. So um I guess just going back to like what you proposed, because I had no idea what you were gonna come up with in the RFC. So after reading through it, I was like, all right, I really like this and this sounds perfect for me and I could use this. And like is are there general concerns? Like if everybody's on board with, let's make sure that we have rebasable flags set to some value and like basically the build pack saying, I'm going to participate in this or whatever. Like if everyone's happy from the build pack author side and the platform side, like, does this seem like a viable path, even in an experimental mode, if you will, like it's an experimental feature, as something that we can try and then like make it a first class citizen after we have it in use for a little while and start publishing things to a registry. And I feel like there's going to have to be some like changes in order to like make this more of an official feature other than what's proposed right now.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think yes to your and to simply answer. I think we could move forward with this. I don't know about it being experimental or not. I think as long as we at least have answers for future, we're not blocking ourselves off as long as it's not like a one-way door, and like we can say, oh, okay, well, we want to make sure that we have a way to distribute these patches, and like at least we've opened up a path and we're okay with the idea of these patches being the format, right? Like I think that's kind of the main thing I would want to settle on is this format sufficient for things that we can dream up that we would want to patch, and then is this format something that we think open source could create as well as platforms who are more locked down, like you said, an air gapped environment, or like a platform like Heroku or Google where they might want to tightly control those patches themselves. So I think for me, yes, I think we can move forward and start addressing the feedback in the RFC and make sure that the files and formats are the way we want them to be.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then because if we're doing this patch thing, like, wouldn't we need another command and pack to like help generate the patch files in some way?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
kind
was
of that's Ed's concern, I think, is like distribution and creation of these patch files. Like, and I think it's a valid concern that we should at least address in this RFC, at least have a plan for, even if we don't necessarily implement that on like day zero of this, right?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I think I
Yeah,
already
I
said
would
thank you
love
for
for you to
creating it.
contribute if you have
Yeah.
some ideas around distribution and how like the Petketo project might eventually, how would you want to create these patch files and how would you want to host them? Where would you want this like, because one of the tough things I think that I realized when I read Ed's comment is when you do a pack rebase, if you're on like a minimal lifecycle image doing a rebase, you don't have the builder, right? Because you can run rebase on a builder, But if you're like being really efficient, you might be running on like the Buildpacks IO minimal rebase like lifecycle image, and you're not on a builder, which means that you don't have like the builder toml to lean onto for like where are the patches for this, like, you know, for the build packs that I've that this image that I'm rebasing is doing. And so like I think there's a little bit of stuff to figure out on, yeah, how would you distribute this, and how would people find it, and how would like rebase find it. And
Agreed. Yeah, I have more thoughts on the launcher, but I think we should get to the Avinash. I don't want to take up the whole meeting.
Just one quick, I mean, just to finalize the point there, like around what Jesse said, I think it is the reproducibility of the build is kind of critical. The one of the guidelines and standards there are is around the salsa.dev standard. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but I mean, it's a so it could have some guidelines around the ability that maybe we're breaking it. Like maybe this ability to patch in place kind of should come with a warning to say like you kind of lose the ability to go back and have all the ingredients to the cake, you know. But this is great discussion. I'm learning tons. Thank you. I wanted to introduce Vinash is working with me, and he's the brain. So if I wanted to, if you have time, I would love for him to ask the question regarding the glibc and muscle that we're facing. Is that okay? Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Hey, hello everyone. So yeah, currently we are trying to adopt the build packs for the developers in terms of deploying for the application on Kubernetes and compiling the code using the build packs. So where the problem we are facing is we are a centralized team. We support a number of frameworks in terms of like Java and then Node.js and Scala and then Gradle and all the stuff. So here we have separate team where they maintain the custom images of Java and custom image of Node.js and custom images of Nginx internal to our organization, where those images are built on Visual, which are on Alpine based Docker images. Whereas when we are adopting the build packs, when we are using the builder, which are of the Paquito, which are built on based on the Ubuntu. So the problem we are facing is in the terms of library compatibility, whereas builder is having the glibc, and whereas our custom image runtime image consists of Alpine, which uses a missile. So how we can tackle that? Do we need to adopt like going with the custom build packs creation? Like how we have to, what's the best practice you can provide on that one, or else like you having something in future coming, like whereas build packs support the missile as well rather than the glibc?
I think Heriko was talking about this before, but I mean, I would recommend probably mirroring your build environment with what you're doing in production. Obviously, you're going to put dev stuff in your build that you might not have in production, but you probably want to do your own builder with the Paquito build packs that is built on Alpine, right? So you're just gonna have a bad time unless you like basically bend over backward. Like it's possible to do where you do stuff, but you're gonna have to contort things to like make sure it's compiling for muscle and not depending on libc. Whereas if you just already have that environment, like it's just gonna do that by default. I don't know if you've already done that over in where it said you said you were already doing Alpine stuff, Ergo.
Yeah.
Sorry, we do Amazon Linux, but we do the same thing that they're doing. Like we
Okay.
have our own builder, and we have to have our like just to take it full circle, we have our own internal composite build packs that we use that references all the Paquito concrete build packs. So like we have our own Node.js build pack that figures out the other ones. So that I think that's like Terrence was saying, I think that's your problem. Like those build packs are trying to use Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd be happy to, talk about this, either in this meeting or if you wanted to ping me.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll connect with
Like
you
Dev
separately.
Slack or Paquito Slack. I'm available on either one of those. We can just chat.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
even we are in the same route of like having the creating in a custom build packs in terms of Node.js and Java. So like using the Toml file and all the stuff. So referring our Docker images, what we have as a build pack at the runtime. So we are in the process of that one, but that will be happy for us to provide the inputs you have so that we can leverage that and we can adopt that.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
And like I said, just ping me. I'm happy to chat about this stuff. I mean, like, I started coming to these calls to learn and figure my way out through all of this, and it's been a great way. So, you know, there's a lot of help in the community for it.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think, you know, we could just take this offline. I mean, unless you guys wanted, it sounds
Yeah.
like this is kind of Paketo specific stuff, so I don't want to, you know, hold up Terrence if unless there's any other stuff we want to talk about, or if Natalie wants to bring anything up. Hi, Natalie.
fix your camera.
Hello.
Oh yeah, there.
Cool.
I assume you customize your builder for what you're doing there, and you can't really, you don't have like, I assume it's just for maintenance reasons. There is not like Amazon Linux is open source, right? Or not open source, but at least public. And so like having a distribution or sample distribution thing for Paketo that shows how you could do a thing off of Ubuntu
Actually, they
probably would be
started,
super helpful
there's UBI now. And
from Ozzy and the Red Hat folks.
yes, so we do have some non-Ubuntu based builders and examples, but those are sounds good. Those are all, you know, Paketo specific. So like when we built all of our stuff, we didn't use all the Paketo tooling. And I wasn't a maintainer at the time. But now, if I did it from scratch, I would just use their tooling because it actually would just be easier. And you can just go use things to create a stack um, and then create your builders, etc. But yeah, there are examples. I think it just depends on, you know, what is the ultimate goal. And like really around planning. Like if you're going to have build packs, then you have to release them on a regular basis the same way Paketo does. And, you know, you've got to build all this tooling around it. So it is kind of a burden to do it a little bit. So if you just use the Paketo tooling, then you kind of take away a lot of that burden and you just are replicating stuff. So it makes it a lot easier. But, you know, I don't know if what you guys use for pipelines, like we use Jenkins. So, you know,
There's
you weren't
Jenkins too.
GitHub. Yeah, so I had to like write all kinds of pipelines to do all this stuff. Actually, just using Buildpacks, I changed a lot of what we did internally and made it a lot. I, you know, introduced semantic versioning as like a first class citizen, and you know,
Nice.
a
Yeah.
lot of benefits came from using all of this Buildpacks ecosystem. So yeah, I'm happy to share, you know, any of
Sounds
that.
like we have a lot to learn from you. I'll try to
Yeah,
reach out to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think regardless, like generic to the project, I think the benefit is you have the opportunity to introduce a lot of standardization. Whereas I think kind of the 800-pound gorilla of how people are doing this for a lot of platform teams. Not that Buildpacks is like the only way you can do this, but it's like I think the core thing of what Buildpacks is trying to solve, I've realized I think like 6 years in has just been standardization of technology, right? So like you're just talking about like I need a way to do like Java, Gradle, like Node.js the same way for the entire company. Whereas like
Exactly.
when we go and talk to companies or people who come through you know, through KubeCon and at the booth and stuff where we talk to folks, it's like it's just snowflakes everywhere. Like you have your golden images, but like you think that like app A and app B that are using the same underlying technologies have the same kind of Docker file. It's like, yeah, like kind of, but not exactly, right? And it's so easy for that stuff to like drift after initial creation. And I think pulling that out of from the app developer and like standardizing it
Yes.
in kind of a separate place is like honestly the big win for a lot of it. Because then now you can put so much stuff through that funnel of like, okay, this is what the app developer is responsible for, this is what they're not responsible for, and this is what we're going to standardize.
Yes.
And I think that's really the big win that you're talking about.
Absolutely. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely. I think that especially with AI coding now, everyone's just creating based, their build scripts are all just generated, including Docker composes everywhere. And so we have to go back and clean up some of that code. And so one of the things I'm starting to incorporate is in the Claude ND file, we're going to start writing some directions on how to what is the best practices that the agent's supposed to follow. And I'm hoping that Buildpacks is going to be just there. So that way we're going to have some sort of standards, including semantic versioning and things like that. So yeah, so I think it's now more than ever, the opinionated approach is that Buildpacks is taking is absolutely critical for our success in fighting or keeping applications secure. And I love it. I appreciate it. If anything, like we can, I would try to advocate for more collaborations. The security world and the cybersecurity world incredibly collaborative in order to just keep up with everything. And I think Buildpacks has a lot of impact or potential to be that standard of opinionated patching and opinionated building.
I definitely would love to the Agents MD thing or Claude MD. I guess Claude doesn't support Agents MD, but whatever the generic agent kind of markdown thing, if there's anything you can share of like kind of once you all kind of do that, I'd be curious to see what you all come up with there.
Absolutely, yeah. Currently, we're still in very early evaluation stages. So the Claude code at the enterprise layer you can create like a Claude MD that will sit and be like the kind of parent markdown for everyone else. It's not necessarily going to be an agent. I believe it's more like the in the context window system prompt because it's injected across the company. So I haven't seen it running yet, but I drafted it and gave it to the team who rolls it out, and I'm gonna update you with the results as soon as I have that, how effective it is. It will be interesting to tell it like use build packs for all the builds and see how it goes.
Nice. If you Avinash want to reach out to me, we could do a quick Zoom. It doesn't have to be recorded, so we can just do it outside of this meeting.
Yes. I try to find you on LinkedIn. If you don't mind sending me like the Slack or just to
Yeah.
make sure that I hit the right.
Are you on the Buildpacks Slack?
I just
The
registered.
CNCF Slack? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find me there. Just
Okay.
look for Jericho.
Okay. Excellent. Will do. Thank you so much, Terrence. Thank you so much,
Yep.
Eric. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. You
Likewise.
too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.